Narcotic Studio here in Olympia, Washington.
Get real drunk, do it punk, hit the streets, eat raw meat.
They call me Calvin Johnson. I'm also known by the name Selector Dub Narcotic. When I started the Dub Narcotic Studio, I wanted to have this house band idea because classic record labels that I was a big fan of, Motown or Stax or Sun or whatever, the records they put out were recorded in their studio. They had a sort of loose-knit group of music makers who would play on different recordings and things. And so I wanted to have something like that, and I call it the Dub Narcotic Sound System. I also wanted to have myself be the Selector Dub Narcotic.
Sharing your tasty lips.
K has been a label for a long time. Started in 1982. Started a series of singles called the International Pop Underground, trying to work with people that were doing like-minded music or spiritually aligned music all over the world. People in Australia and United Kingdom, around the United States and Canada. And I felt like there was a connection with these people that were in other places. But then, at that time, when there was just so many 45s coming out with all these different labels putting out just 45s of the yin yang, I realized I didn't really want to just be this record label that got stuff in the mail and then put out a record by whoever. I wanted there to be a connection with the artists that we're working with in Olympia. I wanted it to be like they came here and recorded, or there was some way that they were connected. So it seemed like one way that could do that is to have our own recording studio and have bands come and record here. So originally it was a 3-track machine. See, it's the 3 preamp for each track, but someone at some point, probably in the 70s, turned it into a 4-track. It was built in 1954, 55, I think. It's probably one of the first multi-track machines.
We turn the tape machines on. They're just a standard, regular Ampex tape machine, And we play the first part on the guitar. This is the rhythm part. Goes,
Modest Mouse, I recorded Isaac in my basement. Isaac was like, I heard you have a studio. I got some songs. I'm like, great.
On the same rest stop, it's on the same damn shirt, it's on the same.
Dub Narcotic started in my basement, and I came across a half-inch 8-track Tascam 58 and had a Tascam 52 half-track machine, and I had a 4-track. Actually, I still have it. It's just right sitting on the floor over there. That Teac 4-track. So I had those 2 formats, a 4-track and an 8-track. I was into rock and roll, but it seemed very confusing and far away. And then punk rock was very immediate and in your face, and I realized this is rock and roll. It's just better. So we started this band. This woman named Laura played drums, and then Heather joined us. Heather and I continued when Laura left, and we got Brett to play with us, and that became Beat Happening.
Keep your eyes shut and live your life. Someone else will pay the price.
When Beat Happening first started, an old friend of ours, Marcus, he had a little group called Mountain Boy, synthesizer electronic group. His girlfriend was like, oh, my nephew makes music. You should listen to my nephew. And we're like, oh, cool, great. Because, we're interested in hearing what people are doing. And we're like, great. She said, yeah, well, my nephew's going to come to the show. He wants to give you a tape. I'm like, cool. So the point of the story was, things were a little bit crazy, and I never did meet this nephew. But when we're driving away the next day, Heather's like, oh, yeah, I got this tape yesterday. And she had met the nephew. And and it was Beck was the nephew, and so she had this cassette, and it just had a ballpoint pen. It was written on the corner. It says, "Beck, Songmaker." We're like, oh, let's give that a listen.
Go where you want to, do things you feel. Walk around with a broken leg and $100 bill.
And it was great. Every song was just killer. It was just a guy with a guitar, and it was just like, whoa, this is good. And so a year or so goes by, and then I'm starting the studio. I'm like, oh, well, I'm starting the studio. Why don't you come up and record in the studio? So he did come up and record in the basement. It was one of the first things I did, actually, was that record. It was like the Halo Benders album.
Freedom Riders. Let's give a boot to the backseat driver.
It was almost like, Doug walked out the door and Beck walked in. It was like a day later or something. And then we did a week. So it was like those two records within the same month. Just in the basement on the 8-track.
There's nobody, there's no mountain, there's no tunnel you can get from there to here. You can't get from here to there. There hasn't been a change in the atmosphere. Nothing twisted around, burning down, coming right.
I bought this machine from Doug Martsch, who played with me in the Halo Benders, and that was 20-something years ago, and it's worked really well for us. A lot of records were recorded on this. Over the years, the studio has gotten a lot of equipment here and there, this compressor, that microphone, whatever. But really, those first two, the Halo Benders record and the Beck record, we didn't have anything. We had like a couple of SM58s, and that's it. No fancy anything. It doesn't really matter what equipment you have. It's the performance. Capturing the performance is what matters. Making sure, and that's what Dub Narcotic Studio has really been about. It's trying to create an atmosphere where people can create and express themselves. Create an atmosphere where people are going to come in and do their best work, because it's a place where they want to do their best work. And sometimes you just need to need a vibra slap. I mean, every album needs a vibra slap, but no more than one song per album should have a vibra slap. Just general rules of thumb. The first time that I worked with music, like in a recording situation, was on my radio show. And I would have bands come in and play live on the air. I recorded them to the half-track machine. The community radio station here in Olympia is called KAOS, and I started volunteering there when I was 15. The whole concept behind community radio is to put your hands on the tools of communication, that you can understand that these tools of communication, radio itself and all of the aspects of it, the mixing desk and the microphones and all that stuff, they're just like light switches. You walk in the room and you turn on the light switch, and it accomplishes the task. You want illumination. There's nothing magic about this equipment. It's just like a little slightly more elaborate light switch. It's getting you to where you want to be. It's illuminating the airwaves. We had access to a lot of underground music because the people who worked at KAOS, the music directors, they did a lot of outreach, and they were really into the idea of getting underground music from all over the country. Those people really were some of the biggest influences. Those music directors, George Romanzik and John Foster, really inspired me all through up to now, as far as K, and the idea that they were seeking out these obscure this obscure work that was being created that was complete and into itself. And I felt like, well, that's what I'd like K to be.